Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Kim Duramo with Mind Body TV. Welcome for everyone who's here live or everyone who is listening to the recording. Today, we're going to talk about how you can change your genes, to change what's happening in your body, to change your physical form even, to change certainly the diseases your body is expressing. A lot of old medical science understood our genetic code, and then it was this idea that these are the genes you have. You're going to have cancer, you're going to have heart disease, you're going to have a body that's always overweight. And so then the only thing we could do is fight against that. Okay, I got to change my diet. I've got to exercise more than anybody else because I have to fight this fat. I have to fight this predisposed genetic situation. And there's a lot of judgment that comes up around the body with this and a lot of fear. But what we now see in today's science is that there's a lot more to the equation than we really understood. The whole study of epigenetics shows that you can change the way your genes get expressed. You can actually, because of the environment that cell is in, that environment and the chemicals and the hormones in the environment of the cell will turn certain genes off and turn certain genes on. That means that when there's inflammatory chemistry or the chemistry of, someone who's really living in fear or living in self-hatred, I hate my body, or I'm judging my body, that it actually creates the chemicals that ignite that genetic expression. When you're in a space of, I'm at ease with my body, I accept myself fully, I allow myself to be all of who I truly am, it changes the chemistry, and that can turn off the genes for disease. So welcome to the show. And if you have been someone who's struggling against your body, fighting your genes or your family history, you may have a big awakening here today to discover what's really possible for you. So I have my beautiful, spectacular, amazing sister-in-law, Mara Torres Leon. Is that the name you go by?
Yeah, Mara. Thank you.
Married, and she has two names like me. But Mara has had this experience, and she's visiting here for the week, so we've been chatting about that, and there's just so much that she had to share. So I'm going to kind of guide that, like what we've been talking about in the last couple of days. So why don't I talk first about what it was like in the struggle. So in the family, talk about a little bit of the family genetics and what was the struggle like there?
Definitely. So thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be here, with Dr. Kim. She's so amazing, and I know you guys enjoy her so much, and we learn so much from her. So, we're Hispanic, and we're from Puerto Rico, and, our body and our shapes are different, and I've always struggled all my life with having the hips and the thighs and, and maybe, you cannot eat carbs and the sugar because it's going to all go into one place. Yeah. And, when I was younger, I would always tell myself, oh, I have, this huge thighs, and I always put that in my head all the time. I don't know if any of you, have had that experience before where you have a stigma of your body of looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, oh, you're never going to wear shorts, and that was me. And I'm 41, I'm going to be 42 now in June. And it's only been the past year where I looked at myself, I've always worked out, I've always trying to, take care of myself, but sometimes it's so much more than that. And I never allowed myself to wear shorts. And I started, in trying to think, where I want it to be the next decade, and thinking of, what's happened the last 40 years in my life, and thinking that maybe it has to do a lot more than maybe just the food or just the workouts. And it has been a struggle, not just for myself, but my mother and my cousins, and I always would look at them and I'll be so afraid of saying, oh, if they have been fighting with that, for all of their lives, it's going to be in my case also, so it's going to happen to me too, it's never going to change. I would always put myself, into that thought, that maybe it was just for me that I was going to look like that. And, I don't know if, a lot of you know about the hurricane that we just, went through. It's going to be almost a year in Puerto Rico. And after, you have crisis, like that in your life. Yeah. So after you have crisis like that in your life, something happens that it's it shifts,
stirs everything. That's what a hurricane does. It stirs everything up.
Right. And then I just start thinking, well, things have to change about the way I see things, the way I see myself, and really being selfish about what is it exactly, Mara, that you want, is it, you know, really when you look at yourself in the mirror, is it because, you know, you're seeing something physical that you put a stigma that that's the way you're going to look, or maybe because it's the feeling that you know, felt, you know, about yourself, you know, in such a way that you just pretty much lived that way. And now I'm saying that, yeah, it took me a long time, but it is that, you know.
Well, it stirred up a lot of awareness of how you were being in your life that kind of created that suppression where there was heaviness. And then also the awareness of the judgment you had on your body of, oh, I hate my thighs, or, oh, this is not okay. And the fear of, oh my gosh, my cousins are like this, I have to fight this. That you weren't aware of before and you became aware of. So a lot of times it's this unconscious communication we have. And I've seen a lot of women go through this where they, oh, I never let that happen to me. And there's a disdain and there's a judgment, and you're carrying that in your body, and it will affect you cellularly, and it will affect your gene expression. So I want you to share a little bit first about what you began to recognize. And I want to invite everyone to comment, like, where are you listening from? And have you experienced anything like this for yourself, whether it's like your family history, or it's just the way you've looked at your body with that same kind of heaviness or fear. But let's talk a little about what that awakening was like, where you began to see, whoa, how I'm being in my life, that's all about pleasing everyone else, that's all about who I need to be and hold it together for them and take care of everything, and that how this awakening kind of happened.
And I think that, you know, one of the things that I really wanted to do was to analyze where I was at and what I was doing. And one of the things that I learned was that I was trying to live in a way that it was not about me. And, you know, trying to put the family together and like trying to please, you know, my relationship and like get it to the level that I wanted and what was right or what was wrong. And, you know, it got to a point that I think that I was tired, you know, and overwhelmed. And I think that, you know, when you do that, your body gets sick. And also, you know, I was not allowing myself to be who am I supposed to be? You know, I was looking at myself in the mirror and I was putting so much pressure in, like, you know, oh, Mara needs to do this. Oh, you need to fix this. Oh, you need to look like this. You're never going to wear shorts. You know, that's not the type of clothing you have to wear. So, you know, or, you know, you have to, you know, cook the food or like work and then like do all these things. And, you know, one of the most powerful things that I learned this past year is how do you stop everything? How do you learn to be selfish in a positive way and learn that the word no, it's an amazing, powerful way to start looking for a yes. You know what I mean? Like, and I said, you have to stop. You have to stop everything. Say no to everybody and say, okay, what is it that Mara wants? You know, what is it that you want to do for yourself? Put yourself as a priority, you know. Where is it that you want to be? How do you want to feel when you look at yourself in the mirror, and not physically? But if you look at yourself in the mirror, you see a reflection and you're happy because you are learning who you are. And it was not an easy job to do, because when you look at yourself in the mirror, you start seeing things that you know you have to acknowledge.
The judgment comes up very loudly if you really, especially if you don't have clothes on and you look at yourself and look at that body part that you kind of hate. What arises in that moment is going to be all the heaviness and the judgment that you've carried.
And then stop comparing yourself. You know, I would see other girls that maybe they would be smaller or bigger and they're wearing things that I would never wear, and I'd be like, how do they do it? And then that decision came, and I said, okay, Mara, this has to be about learning what no means, learning that, you know, being selfish, it's positive. Start allowing yourself to be in love with yourself. Start allowing yourself to know that the next decade, it's going to be the best decade. You know,
it's really beautiful, the be in love with yourself part. So I was just talking with your husband, and he called and we're chatting, and I was telling him what we're doing, and he said, whatever, some books we can read, because we love to read about this stuff. And I was explaining epigenetics and different things that affect your body. And so I brought up Bruce Lipton's book, and one of his books that was always really like, he's been a mentor for me, is called The Biology of Belief. So this is a geneticist teaching in medical schools, and, you know, the old idea of here's what your genes say, so here's what's going to happen. And he began to see in his research, like, oh my gosh, no, that's not the rule. what actually affects the genes is, the whole study of epigenetics, what actually affects the genes is the environment that those cells are in.
Yes.
When we change the environment, it's going to change the gene expression. So I was sharing that with him, and the book, The Biology of Belief, is what I recommended. And I did throw in, he has this other book called The Honeymoon Effect, and you might want to read that later, but start with The Biology of Belief. But when you said, like, to be in love with yourself, and I totally have goosebumps right now, that book really goes more into what does the harmonic of being in love create in your body? What does the harmonic of being in love create in your metabolism and in your gene expression and in your cells? And he, being a geneticist and like a microbiologist, has a really different scientific take on this. But he's seeing like emotions are a chemical response in the body and they affect our cells. And here's what that means for your health. So being in love, and that's why it's so powerful when we choose, like, can I just love my body? Can I just love who I am? Because you're different from like everybody in the world. We're all individual, but you're a very strong personality, and that can be like, we make it wrong, like, ooh, dial it down, don't be so loud or so expressive. People will be uncomfortable with that. And then to like alter yourself according to what you think will be acceptable, versus like, all right, I'm gonna accept myself unconditionally, and that's like being in love with myself. And then I wonder what will be expressed, but I'm gonna just let that be it.
And when you stop yourself from like trying to, being yourself because you need to like convince or please everybody, then what it does to you is that pretty much it's not going to happen. It's going to do the opposite. Your body's just going to go, in an opposite direction. And that's what the most interesting thing in this past year has been, that, when I started saying no, and, it has to be a commitment.
Yes.
It has to be a commitment, because it's not easy, because then you're going to have a lot of things coming out to you to try you out and to test you. And test you. And
because it really, that's not like life's going to test you. It's like you've made these commitments and said, all right, body, make everyone else happy. All right, body, keep this undercover and suppress that. And so now you're saying, let's be expressive. And your body's like, wait a minute, you made these conclusions. Are you sure that's what you want to do now? And it comes up as a quote unquote test, but it's like, so you can confirm, like, yes, I really am ready to operate this new way.
Yeah, and accepted life, it's full of things that are, positive, and some others are just experiences that you might learn are things. And we have to accept that, because sometimes, we want to be all positive and trying to show that everything's fine. It doesn't matter. If today wasn't, a good day, hey, the next hour, it could become the best hour. And, to accept that, it's so important. And also to stop weighing yourself or measuring yourself or looking at yourself in the mirror. I stopped that. Like, I'm not going to weigh myself. I'm just going to be healthy, be happy. And then suddenly, a few months after, I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, what happened here? I was not looking at myself anymore physically. It was something else. And, it's amazing, how powerful it is.
Well, I think the really powerful thing too is, all of that is so important. It is the whole cake. But when we want to see, like, well, so do I get to be healthier, or do I get to lose 20 pounds? Or, people are like, show me the money. So it is important to honor that aspect. And that was why we did this talk today. It was Mara walked in our bedroom last night. They flew in from Puerto Rico, and we're visiting with the baby. And I just was like, oh my God, you have a different body. And she's always gorgeous and fit and like inspiring. But I was like, your body is totally a different body.
Genetically.
And I said, you're in a different genetic pattern. You're in a totally different pattern. And that was what inspired us to talk about this and present this, because so many of us are trying to change the body from the outside in. And like, if I eat these foods or avoid those foods, or if I work out, 2 hours a day and fight what the condition is. But what actually happens is we come into a new harmonic when we allow and accept what is. Because people are always like, well, how can I accept my body when I hate my body? Or how can I accept this condition when I really don't like this condition? And it's the harmonic of, like you said, it's not positive. Stop trying to be positive. If I can embrace all that is, even just 2% more, right? Not maybe 100%, but can I just be a little bit more in acceptance of this? Then I can be in a space where it can change.
Yeah, and I think that, if you like mentally, accept who you are. And the body is something that, it's what's the outside. But if you fall in love with what's inside, who you are and your soul and your energy, then your body's going to respond to that. And I decided that, that I was going to be, a woman with purpose. I was like, okay, I'm going to be 42 now. When I turn 40, I'm like, what is my purpose? What is it that I need to do to understand that we are here for a reason? And when you start understanding from within, things just start changing, and people around you start noticing.
Yes, and how you were able to, I'll look at some of these comments, but I want to discuss too how you were able to ask for what you wanted in your relationship.
Yes.
So from this new foundation of, I honor myself fully, oh wait, who does that mean I need to be in this relationship? And what do I get to receive now in this relationship that the old way of being kind of blocked that receiving?
Yes.
So I want to thank everyone for the comments that are coming in. Randy says, I'm so happy for this topic. I had weight that would not budge no matter what for all of my teens and 20s. And that's like, it's that stubborn thing, right? Because you're expressing that. I finally got to my goal weight as I learned how to change my relationship with food. But when I got sick, it came back, and I still haven't been able to lose much. Even working with the functional medicine doctor, it's coming up very slowly. I want to open to where there's something, if there's something heavy that I just haven't understood how to release, and where it's tied to my sexuality as well. Yeah, so what we can do really, because you have that awakening, the hurricane happened, and then your husband was like traveling, he wasn't there, and it's like, why isn't he here for me? Like, life can give us that awakening. But for those of you who are listening or are here live, feel into your body right now. Or actually, if you're really brave, do this exercise later on today where you take your clothes off, or maybe just leave your underwear on, but you can really see your body and look at yourself in a mirror, and do this at that time. But you want to just, take a minute now and close your eyes and feel your body. And so feel all the way, like from the top, your face, your neck, your throat, your shoulders, move your way down, your chest, your breasts. If you're a woman, like what energy do you feel when you bring your attention to your breasts? Or if you do the mirror exercise, when you look at, like actually just look at your breasts. Is there a shame, embarrassment, discomfort? Does a heaviness come up? Is there an energy there? Just take a breath. Bring your awareness down all the way to your abdomen, to your belly. A lot of times there can be a heaviness around the sexual energy. So the belly, the hips, thighs, where you think it's about your physical body, but it's actually about the energy that you carry. So just take a few deep breaths, do this little body scan, and then just breathe into your body. Like, what do I feel in my body? What's the energy that I feel? Is there a specific area in my body? Maybe it's your arms. It could be anywhere. But a lot of times the breasts or the belly or the hips and pelvis, there can be a lot of judgment that we carry, and you will feel that physically, or you will see the reflection of that physically. Like you said, Mata, you began to shift the energy, and it was like looking at a different body in the mirror. So for ourselves, just feel like, what do I feel here? And then be willing to sit with that, even if it's just 10 seconds, especially with the mirror exercise. It can be like, and people will tell me they have like tears coming down, or like, no, I just couldn't do it. It was too intense. So you can do it, maybe just start with your clothes on, or maybe just start like closing your eyes, standing in front of the mirror, open your eyes for 10 seconds, and then just close your eyes and presence what you feel, and breathe fully and consciously. Your body knows how to release the energy you've held or taken on or carried. It knows how to release that, but it requires your attention and your presence and your willingness in order to do exactly that. So take like 10 breaths at that time. And if you are in front of the mirror, when you do this, like close your eyes again, and then just breathe through what you feel, noticing it, witnessing it, and just observing it. Because as the observer, we're not in the judgment and the heaviness, we're just in the pure awareness of, okay, this is really intense, or, oh, there's shame here, or, oh, this, I feel funny when I feel into my pelvis. So bring this awakening for yourself, and you can allow this energy to move. So thank you, Randy, for that question. Evie says, my daughter has struggled with her body for a long time. Thank you. I love when the hearts come up. It's so fun. Thank you for the likes and the hearts. I'm glad this is resonating. thinking that she has her dad's body genes. Most of the women in his family are heavy. Oh, I can totally relate to this. She works. Yeah. She worked so hard this past year, working out and eating well, and has come so far. I'm looking forward to sharing this with her. Maybe this will make the journey a little easier from here on out. Definitely. I had a lot of judgment around my dad's sister, so it was the only girl in the family who had my dad's genes in his family, and she was really, really heavy and had like these like stocky legs and a shorter body, and my mom used to make comments about that body type, and they weren't like really positive comments. And, you know, it wasn't like overtly judgmental, but it was really clearly judgmental. Mm-hmm. And I felt like, oh, geez, because I have that more like, it's an athletic build. Yeah. But now I feel so comfortable with it. But at the time I felt like, oh my God, I have these stocky, short, tree-trunky legs.
I have the same.
Yeah, so I took on the heaviness of the judgment. And there was a lot of my mom's judgment of that body type. And, you know, she also doesn't have the best perspective of my dad. Like, they didn't have a great relationship anyway. So all the judgment that was there, and this is something that happens for girls, like we will take on the judgment of our mothers because it's an energy. It's not like they have to say, although they often do, oh, you should look like this, you shouldn't look like this, or hey, don't eat that cheese, you're going to get fat. And, you know, they'll say things, but it's the energy behind it that we take on and embody. And you don't need to embody that. When I first did this exercise, like I hated my thighs, and I would never wear shorts either.
Really?
Yeah. And it's crazy because then I would look back.
And I love her legs.
Now I love my legs. And I'm like, oh, they're cute. I've changed how I relate to them. But I remember looking back at the pictures when I was a teenager and being like, what was I thinking? No, my legs are perfectly fine. But how I felt at the time was like, oh, embarrassed, and there's shame. So it was the energy I was feeling, not actually there was something wrong with my physical body.
And it wasn't your own thought. It was a thought put there, and you processed it, and you said, oh, yeah, you accepted it.
I took it on.
Yeah.
I took it on. So this will be really beautiful to share with your daughter, that she can do this exercise and allow the energy to move. For those of you who've done the Instant Elevation program, and my site is drkimd.com for those of you who want to go deeper with the work. But there are these exercises in the Instant Elevation program that help us really move these energies in our body. But for those of you who aren't necessarily aligned with that, fine. You can do just what we've shared here. It will move so much for you that's really ready to move just from that awareness. Chrissy says, when I was on medications in the 90s, I gained weight and disliked any pictures of myself that were whole body shots. I was depressed and went up 2 sizes. I ended up with an autoimmune problem, and it exacerbated my feelings about my body. This is really common, that the judgment we hold will become exacerbated when we're ready to move it, when we're being invited by life to let it go, is it will get louder and more uncomfortable. So then we awaken. People kept mentioning, oh, isn't it stress that causes it? And then I felt judged, as I had a real physical issue that no one had an answer for in the last 2 years. I've been redoing my beliefs. In the last 2 years, I've been redoing my beliefs into the kinds that you're discussing. I love the explanations you give, Dr. Kim. This is great. Beautiful. So where are you taking on judgment that, like, if someone says this or that, you feel the heaviness, or if someone looks at you a certain way, you feel the heaviness. So now, instead of trying to like blame that person or push against them, you can say, thank you for helping me witness the heaviness I've carried, or the shame I've carried that is no longer a part of me, that is no longer something I'm willing to take on. Thank you for bringing this to my awareness, especially the people who hurt us the most. Thank you for showing me the unhealed wounds in me that I was previously unaware of. And I was here too. So I do want to share that piece as we finish, about how you were willing to ask for more and ask for what you wanted in your relationship.
That takes a lot of love and courage, because, you know, our you know, we're a Hispanic family. Hispanics family, you know, we tend to, one spouse probably is the one that takes more responsibility of taking care of, like, the household and the family. And, you know, I've been married for 16 years, and, you know, it has been, you know, an amazing marriage, you know, where we've grown from like so many different points. But I recognized, you know, last year when I decided that I wanted to make a change for myself, you know, I recognized that I gave so much in the relationship, not because it was something that, oh, I had to do it. It was because, you know, I decided that I wanted to do that. I wanted to do everything and take care of everything. And then I got tired and overwhelmed. And, I felt it, I felt it to a point where I saw myself and I looked myself in the mirror and I said, this is not going where I want to go. If I want to be happy, I need to be in love with who Mara is and who is Mara? What do I want? And I started to, trying to say, wait, you need to be selfish. You need to sit down with your husband and say to him, I love you, but I love myself more. And I need other things. I need to start asking you to give me the things that I want. And it's not that he was not doing the things to make us happy. It was because, I was doing so much and I wasn't even allowing him to do the things that he needed to do as a husband. And he got used to it, of course, because I was not selfish enough to ask him in the relationship, you know what? This is a no. I want a yes in terms of I want more of this in our relationship. I'm going to stop doing this. I want to start doing that. And I want you to start being a part fully of what we do, in a marriage.
Yeah, and specifically, you're like, I'm doing all the cleaning and I'm doing
all the cleaning, I do all my coffee. I do everything in the house. You just work and come and we spend time. But, he was comfortable.
Yeah.
And, he always told me, oh, you're a superwoman.
Yeah.
And I believed it. And you know what? I'm not.
You don't want to be that.
And I took that job of a superwoman, of like taking care of everything. And then I said to myself, no, I want to feel cared for.
Yes. Well,
I get emotional, but, and that's when I said, no, I want you to take care for me. And I'm going to stop doing this. So if you can do the coffee now, if you can make the bed, and like, I want to feel that, definitely I want to be feel cared for. And that has nothing to do to feel less of me or think less of me. It's part of the transformation of allowing yourself to, demand the things that you want and get them because you had the courage to do that.
And then what happened?
And then what happened? And then I look at myself in the mirror 7-8 months later, I've lost probably around 15 pounds. I have like 17% body fat, which I've never had.
Wow. I'm
weighing like 133 pounds, and that was the weight that I used to weigh when I was like in sophomore year in high school.
Wow.
And I feel better than ever. And the relationship that I'm starting to experience with my husband, I've never experienced it in the last 16 years. So we're growing together in a different way because I accepted that I needed to love myself, to start saying no to get the yes that I wanted. And it's happening.
He makes the coffee.
He makes the bed. He makes the coffee. He's always asking me, what do you need? He's always expressing, how he loves me. And now we're in the process of him losing weight.
Well,
and
it's inspiring.
Have a baby.
Yeah.
So, Amen. And I know it will happen.
It's so important for women to realize how much we are the spiritual leader. And your brother, my husband, says this all the time. Women are the spiritual leaders in the world because they will awaken the men. Like your husband adores you and he's a beautiful man with a big heart, but then he'll go into the pattern that you set. You set this pattern for, okay, here's how I do it. Here's how I do it. And I think sometimes it's like, all right, you want to be a Superman? I'll cheer you on all day long. A Superwoman, I'll cheer you on. But like, who wants to be that, right? Because it doesn't really inspire other women. It mostly makes women feel intimidated, like, oh no, I'm so inadequate. Look at what she's doing. And what you really want is to assist and inspire other women. But he wants to love you in the way that really nurtures you. And so he has stepped up, but it required you to say, no, we both, I want more, and we're both going to have more. And it has really inspired her husband too to be the man he is fully, because men want to follow the woman in that spiritual awakening. They just often don't feel so much the connection within themselves that they'll, like the guidance from a woman can inspire them for that and have them begin to awaken and like, whoa, what heaviness has he carried that he's ready to release. And it's like, wow, this is for both of us. And yes, it may make you uncomfortable that I'm stepping into myself more fully and really asking for this. And how many times could we be in judgment of it? And like our girlfriends will tell us, oh, what a jerk. You have that bad husband and he does this and he does that. Well, forget about that and like make it wrong. But to see, no, this is what's right about this. And we're both going to go and I'm going to do this for both of us and ask for what I want for all of us.
And sometimes we think we don't ask for it because we're afraid. Yes. And, and that fear that we put inside doesn't free us to get where we want to go or who do we want to be. And, I think, for the last 16 years, I was afraid. Maybe I didn't acknowledge it, like outside of my mind and soul. But since I started to just, telling him and expressing him and not being afraid of like, what was he going to say or feel and just throw it out there, and the result, it has been amazing.
Yes.
Just we need to cut with the fear. Let it out.
We'll follow up in 6 months and look at what else is happening with you, with Leo, with your physical body and health, because it's like a lot of genetics play into this, where it's like, oh, there's all this illness in the family, and same thing in Leo's family. And it's like, wait, how will we transcend that? So there's a strength of presence of my life force coming through of like, oh, I'm willing to be who I am. So it overrides, which we are seeing clinically, scientifically, it overrides the genetics that express disease. So we are on time here, yes, and I'm so glad we got to do this. And thank you, everyone, for your comments and for joining live, and everyone who's listening to the recording as well. Do you want to leave people with a last thought?
Well, I'm so blessed to be here, and I just want to tell you that, enjoy every second of your life, and try to find your purpose, not the purpose of like, because of who you are or what title you have, but the purpose of soul, the purpose of your energy, and the purpose of like your love, and that's the key. Every day is going to be different. We're definitely going to have, moments that are not easy, but the way we look at ourselves and the way we love ourselves is key. They're key for the things that we want to have in our life, and they will happen.
It's beautiful.
This is for having me. This has been amazing.
Well, it's your purpose. Just when Mata steps into a room, like you can get a feel for it here. She's really like a regal beauty and just a presence of like, yeah, let's have fun, because you're of the level of self-love you have embodied. But now it's like a whole new level of opening from, wait, I'm being superwoman. No, that's not who I am. It frees others to also accept themselves more fully, to have a woman like you who is making that move. So
thank you.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm at drkimd.com. Be sure you're subscribed. We will be posting this to YouTube, so you can subscribe at the YouTube channel as well. And I'm at the Mind Body Community on Facebook. We're making this into a podcast, so you can find me on iTunes as well, which is super exciting. The Mind Body TV podcast. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Mind Body TV.
Bye-bye.
So much love. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.